Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Hashem Abishai, by Hashem B'Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity. To the confusion of faith that are joined unto our ranks. The hopefully elect, the Akwaf that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. It's your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone, coming in with another lesson. And this lesson is just going to be about hypocrisy of Esau, Edom. All right, because you got this issue going on in France that's been going on for almost 8 months now. And anywhere else in the world, we would have sent troops and backed up the people and, you know, this, that, and the other. But France, being an Edomite brand nation, also has been down with the EU and NATO for so long. But now France is making that separation, but you barely hear anything about this. I mean, the biggest story that came out of France was the burning of Notre Dame. Not the riots and the death of the people, the starvation of the people, and all the things that are going on with the people, man. You know, they're literally having, you know, the prophecy of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, is literally going on there. And that is the vibration that's moving throughout the earth. And it is going to hit America. That vibration is here. It just hasn't taken America fully over yet. You know, you just don't have the streets and the tires burning in the streets and the cars on fire and people rioting and fighting with the police on a full scale yet. But it is happening. This past weekend, there were rallies formed all over the place. There are militia groups and other groups, like this group that's led by Bob Avakian. It's amazing, man. You got groups like that are literally forming together with people to fight against the government, calling for a revolution. All right? And revolutions don't come by peace, they come by violence. Meanwhile, the men of the Lord get labeled as terrorists and everything else for simply reading the Bible and telling you the prophecy of Jacob and Esau. But yet these other groups can form and do all these things, and they still get to do it, man. Hell, I was invited to something by an Edomite chick. That's another thing too. When you got Jake rallying in the streets talking about, let's go to show you how stupid Jake is, man, collectively. All right? All those groups that got together, you know, the Brown Berets for the so-called Latin community, you know, the different Gadite camps that got together to fight against Esau in the late 60s and 70s, the Black Panthers and all those different parties. The Lord destroys all that. So now you got this Bob, I think you pronounce his name Avakian. You know, they get together and they're trying to lead a revolution. You got Edomites spearheading this thing, having meetings in the hood and gathering and marching in the hood to fight against Esau, Edom. Man, you can't fight against Esau, Edom. His blessing is a sword. Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right? You have to wait on the Lord, man, quite frankly and simple. And I told the lady that I talked to that we have two different paths. She doesn't, and you know what? And she didn't want to believe in the Bible because she said that the Bible was a patriarchal book, was not friendly to women, and was also full of hate, which she's right. Other people just can't seem to grasp that. But she said it right out the gate. She said the Bible puts women over the men, and Salakia. She said the Bible puts a man in charge of everything and puts the woman in charge of nothing. So basically, she had an issue with that. So right then and there, I told her, well then, you know, can two walk together lest they be agreed? Because you believe in what you want to believe. You believe in this man Bob. You don't want to be under a man, but yet you're following Bob because Bob doesn't acknowledge the Bible. This is our 2nd Ezra 5 and 15. And it reads, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hand. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions, they shall stand in their power. And that is That's been taking place in different parts of the world on small scales, but it's going to get very, very big. Actually, on a pretty big scale. It just don't get covered here in America. All right? And a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And that's basically means martial law. And that's what's going on in France. And yet, America has done nothing to stop this. All right? It's all hypocrisy. Let's grab another scripture about that. This is Matthew 23 and 28. Let's grab that real quick. I started 27. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Even so also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. And that's basically what Esau Edom is with his media on his covering and the things that he do. Even that thing with Epstein, man. All right? And we'll get to that too. But let's let a little bit of this this video play.
Was supposed to come together as a nation. There, amid the historic splendor of the Shameful, the people of France, together with their leaders, were supposed to mark the storming of the Bastille, right? Who didn't read about this in grammar school, or at least in high school? I mean, this is the act that triggered the French Revolution. We all know about it.
There have been plenty of movies and stories done about it. And I remember learning about it in high school, and there's been a couple of video games that portrayed the Bastille Day of Chaos.
About it. Instead, what happened in Paris this weekend looked at times like a new modern version of the Bastille storming, ironically enough. And yet the media, ironically enough, seems to be ignoring this story.
Because they're hypocrites.
So the people of France are obviously not happy with their government right now, and they are taking to the streets to show their anger in no small fashion, by the way. Suffice it to say that if the people of Venezuela, or any country that our government opposes right now, pick your country, were having violent mass demonstrations, oh my God, right? Fox News, CNN, every single network would be leading their coverage with it, and the Trump administration would right now be threatening to intervene militarily.
Exactly.
But instead, what we hear about Paris is crickets. Not here. RT correspondent Charlotte Dubinsky is there in the streets of Paris.
Wow. Revolution. I guess this is pretty much said the same in French as it said in English. People were chanting revolution. All right. And that's that sedition among men. And all I can tell you, man, is that when that spirit grabs hold here in America, when that finally happens, there is no turning back. And America is getting dangerously close to that as well, man. Dangerously close. All right, let's read another scripture about hypocrisy. All right, this is 1 Timothy 4 and 2. And it reads, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with the hot iron. All right? And that's basically, that's Esau Edom. speaking lies about hypocrisy, man. And I'm gonna give you another example. Let's click to something else. Here we are with
There's one 4-word question you must absolutely never ask a man if you want him to be your boyfriend.
Son of a,
human failings. Look, that's not to say we don't all fail. I, in many ways, more than most. But for a man worth billions and billions of dollars who seemed to collude with royalty and presidents and tycoons to be accused of something so vile does seem almost to have an irresistible narrative, doesn't it? So here's what you need to know today. Federal investigators say when they went into Epstein's New York mansion, they found a safe with, quote, piles of cash, dozens of diamonds, artwork that had not been accounted for, more lewd photos of young naked girls.
Now, mind you, often every time Esau gets put on blast, they have to throw Jake in there to take away a lesson or distract. Like Trevor Noah with his political commentary, and he does it in a form of comedy, but yet it's very serious. He brings up the fact that he lived across from Bill Cosby. Why did Bill Cosby's name even have to be brought up? Not to mention that their crimes on a whole different level. Bill Cosby wasn't dealing with underage women, number one. Bill Cosby, there was never any evidence to prove he had done anything, just hearsay. This guy here, photos, videos, and people in high places. This dude had an island that they call Pedo Island. The comparison of him to Bill Cosby is like night and day. You know, that's kind of like when they start talking about the Holocaust, and you got that Native American, the Gaddite actor that died, who made the statement that the true Holocaust happened here on America. Hundreds of millions of natives were exterminated. Hundreds of millions. And they're talking about 6 million, and he's talking about hundreds of millions. And you got to find people that are going to find offense in that statement, man. But it's a fact. Which is more devastating? Hell, there were hundreds of millions of slaves that died here in America. Hundreds of millions, they estimated that over 100 million died just in transportation. Yet somehow it's not put on the same level as a Holocaust. All right? So we're talking about hypocrisy here. These are just forms of hypocrisy. When anything that shines a bad light upon Esau, Edom, they would distract with something else or bring up some other fact that happened to them, as I just gave a great example. To take away a lesson, you know, a lesson the attention. But this is what's being brought here. What's happening with Epstein is this is what the elite wealthy of Esau does, man. They're not sorry. They're just sorry that they got caught. And he's an insider. But yet they may have to sacrifice him because it's so public now. We'll see what happens, though. Because they may cover him eventually and get him off of it. They got him off of it before. And that judge retired in shame. But this is Isaiah 14 and 11. And it reads, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and worms cover thee." So their pomp, their pompous is being brought low, man. And worms represent infection, man. They're infected. They're infected with the disease of exposure and hypocrisy, and they can't get away from it. Just like it says in Habakkuk, you know, shame shall be brought upon their glory. And now shame is being brought upon their glory. Let's hear a little bit more of their shame.
And here's maybe the worst of it all, for Epstein's sake anyway. They found a phony passport issued to Epstein in the 1980s with a Saudi Arabian address.
It makes you think about the movie Taken. All right, because that's what happens. A lot of these girls that get snatched up, they get taken over to the so-called Mideast and sold among the wealthy elites over there, man. And remember, the Saudi royal family, they're Edomites. They're not like the rest of the people. They're Edom.
See, taken in parts of this or all together, It is what is...
And let me make that clarity. The citizens of Saudi Arabia are majority Ishmael. But the royal family themselves are the same as the Israelis. They're Edomites in positions of power, basically posing as Arabs. That's what's going on there. That's the connection. That's why all this terror stuff goes on, and Saudi is never looked at it as terrorists, or terrorists never attack Saudi or Israeli interests. All right, they attack everything else.
Used to try and convince a judge not to grant Epstein's bail. That's why this is a big deal, right? But wait, there's more. Prosecutors also brought forth several women into court who told the judge that Epstein had sexually abused them when they were only 14 years old. Given this, what do you think the chances are that Epstein will be let out of jail? What do you think? Federal Judge Richard Berman says he's going to make his announcement this Thursday, and we'll let you know what it is. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else in Venezuela?
And that's pretty much true, man. So, you know, Esau's hypocrisy is shining through on the highest level. Call halal Yahweh Bashanam Shai Bashem Wakak Wadash Wa Abba Babal.